Roll call, please.
Newberry.
Here.
Crowner.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Lees.
Here.
Young.
Here.
Any change or difference that we want to make with the agenda? If not, I would accept a motion to approve it as it is.
So moved.
Moved,
Support.
support. All in favor by voice vote, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. We have our consent agenda. Would anyone care to make a motion on that?
Motion to approve is presented.
Support.
Motion and support. Do we have any discussion on any of those items? If not, voice vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All same sign. Opposed? None. Motion's carried. So we'll move on to our first staff report with the administrator.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just a couple items tonight. I heard back from Brian Fleming. I believe I sent that information out already. If you have any questions from Brian, just let me know, because we'll need to, from a timing perspective, he'll need to know relatively soon. We had some discussion on that, but if you have any questions for specifically for Brian, please let me know. Trees Forever, I mentioned we got the grant, Sturzings, or the beautiful Burlington, I believe, will be contributing. Ritters is reducing their tree costs. Bless you. Pollinator folks we'll be working with as well and be able to get that done. And Burlington Beautiful will be helping with that portion as well. So we'll get that moving forward, get those trees purchased, and get that project scheduled and set up. Looking for participants. And the budget's been sent to the paper for publication, public hearings on 3/16, and working on tax abatement, which will be finalized tonight. Application is done, or been finalized, tweaked what we had. I've given Kelly 4 pages, which is too long, but some of this would be for the website of information, and then I've asked her to help me. We're going to kind of cut it down as well, but this is much cleaner than the current documentation as well. We'll get this on the web, put a little brochure out of this information so that it's handy for folks to utilize, and we'll get that up and running. So, thank you.
Public Works.
Greg mentioned the butterflies. I got some more information for him today from the county, who will be putting the seed down, and talked to them about our tree program and the trees that'll be coming in this spring that we're working on. And he mentioned if we have trees we want to get rid of on Earth Day, to work with Earth Day, and there may be people show up, or volunteers, or to help plant, or people that may want to receive trees too. It's another way of advertising or hooking up with them at the same with that when they do Earth Day. Other than that, just been patching, working on going through the parks, playground equipment, and hooking fence and ball diamonds back up. We've got a meeting next week with Boomerang to work out some issues on the water tower project and laying the water main. We'll go over that and hopefully get that back online. They've called all the locates in. Possibly soon you'll be seeing the demo of the old plant getting started here, hopefully, and get that site cleaned up. All I got.
Okay, Police Department.
Yeah, a couple things. I was contacted by a citizen in a 200 block of Winter. They have a 10 or 11-year-old son there that has autism. They were just asking about possibility of putting a sign up in the neighborhood of the 200 block of Winter. I know we've done it before for deaf children or blind children, and once they move on, then we go in and remove the signs. They just wanted me to bring that up. They also wanted 4-way stop signs put at both ends of their block, but I told them that wasn't probably going to happen. But they just wanted that. I know the family. He is a good kid. He's up there pretty high on the spectrum of the autism. But it would just help to caution some of the drivers that do come up and down Winter Street. So just something that I wanted to throw out there. Officer Billings is doing pretty good. I spoke with his FTO yesterday, and he's coming along. He's just been jumping around so much with COVID, everybody being sick with COVID, but he's been pretty good here the last several weeks. I do have an officer who has a torn tricep muscle, and he's scheduled for surgery here next week. And unfortunately, that's going to put him out of commission for 2 to 3 months. So I'm going to have to maneuver the schedule a little bit more to try to prevent overtime cost, but it's something that needs safety issue with him, so he needs to go get it repaired. So that's all I have.
Okay.
Jesse, that sign, what would that sign say?
I haven't really looked a whole lot. I'm assuming we can probably just about get anything put on there, like autism child and slow down or caution. You know, I think the deaf ones have been deaf child in at play. Yeah, at play.
There's
something like that.
there's some specific ones that the MUTCD recommends for
Yeah.
this situation, so, yep.
Okay. And it'll actually be up on a post, just
Yeah.
like, okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
You can get back to us with a cost.
Yep, I'll talk to Mike about it, and we'll see what we can find, and it shouldn't be pretty minimal, but
Sounds like a good idea.
yeah.
I agree. Building, fire?
On the building side, since that bad word starts with an S is pretty well gone. Nuisances are popping up that were covered before. We're starting to deal with those. Lawns, just want to remind those watching and listening, 6 inches is the maximum height. Please keep them mowed. The same goes for weeds. Keep them cut down. Otherwise, notices will be going out, followed by having someone come in and do those. On the fire side, we've been busy with fire calls. We're already up, compared to last year at this time, we're already up by almost 10 calls for the full year. We had the county meeting we hosted Monday night, and we're all looking at our response protocols as far as our box alarm, how we put that out. And what that is it goes with our mutual aid auto aid agreements. Right now, if Burlington paged out or we paged out, we send them an engine. If they go strike a box, we send them an additional. We're looking at trying to get more people coming to the scenes from the other agencies also. Just looking ahead, trying to keep people fresher, rehab type things. Last one I have is Granny, the city's first motorized fire truck. We had gotten the motor running several years ago, and always been concerned about the tires and the rims. Those are Widowmakers is the term for them. They're split rims. And we got one of the tire rims off, have it down at Bauer Built. They're having it looked at, try and find pricing for tires and rims. As soon as I got that, be getting it with Greg and see where we're at. The brakes, they always told us they couldn't get the brakes fixed. We actually were able to get the master brake cylinder tore apart, cleaned out, put back together, got a seal kit for it, found one, and we have brakes. So the hope is that the tires come in at a decent, reasonable cost, and the rims we'll have to have custom made, like I said, and we can have that going for the 4th of July, but right now one of the tires is completely out of commission. And then Andy, I want to see you afterwards, discuss the 4th of July.
Okay.
Just one little quick item. But any questions for me on anything?
You know what, publicly once, I want to bring this up, just to kind of have council involved a little bit, but there's a house sitting on Ballard that's been empty for a couple of years, and we have some code about that, but I personally would like to see us start to do something about that, and I know that's on your list, and I'm not blaming you or anything. I think that's something we haven't had to deal with too much in our town, but I don't know why we'd have a nice house sitting there vacant, being kind of run down here in our town where it could easily be sold. So I'd like to see us do something about that. And
That's the one I think we've discussed it, it's owned by an out-of-state.
Yeah,
bank.
California bank, and, yeah, neighbors have complained to me at least a couple times about it. Pretty rundown, tree back down in the yard, gutters are all down, being held up by sticks, fence down in the yard. It's just, be a nice house for somebody to live in, too.
Yep, that one's on my list, we were discussing that this morning.
Okay, thank you.
I think there's several like that, isn't there? There's one on
I
Ramsey.
have one on Mount Pleasant that I'm, really want to get after that is abandoned. The back porch is falling in. I've had people call me on it. I think Mike, one of his guys, told me about it when they were checking the alleys, doing the sewer jetting and stuff this year, so. I've got that one, and there's one on Leffler.
Leffler.
We do have several houses in town that, if they were cleaned up and put back in shape, they would be good sellable houses that could be occupied by residents.
Do we have to make our code stricter for more enforcement, or?
No, there's a number of ways to acquire property that the city can already utilize. First is voluntary, but there's certain steps we should be taking before we start some of those other processes. We've started to look at that to see what, if anything, we can do, and mention uninhabitable. We need evidence of that as well. So it's a little more difficult, but there's a number of things by state statute that we can already do to acquire properties. 357A is one process to get clean title, condemned property. I mean, there's a number of different routes. We can contact the bank, just simply ask as well. So, yeah.
I don't think we're
I just got
talking
a message that our doors are locked and people are waiting outside to come in.
about, I don't think we're talking about buying houses, that, I thought we were talking about having the owners fix them up.
A couple different ways. I mean, give them the opportunity to come in and repair if there's an owner. In this case, you have a out-of-state owner that's not doing anything with the property and may or may not be trying to sell it. So you can acquire it and not necessarily have to buy it. I'm not suggesting paying anything
Neither am I.
other than perhaps legal fees, or just getting a quitclaim deed, just, a couple $100, but nothing other than that.
Okay.
So it won't, it kind of depend, it'll depend on once we contact, if we can contact the owners.
We'll certainly try to contact
They
the owner.
try and do something, it'll,
It
That's
depends.
my hope, is just a little kick to get them going might get it done.
I mean, if they owe back taxes on it, isn't that a whole nother issue? It can go
Yeah.
to sheriff's sale. It'll depend on what we find out with each situation, but at least
Yeah.
let's
Whether there's a
start the
lien,
process
whether
and.
there's a tax sale, I mean, notices regarding nuisance, I mean, just anything and everything you can.
So the key is just don't look the other way, let's dig into them, I guess. is
That's what
it
I'm
sounds
saying.
like.
Yeah, it's been a couple of years, and I just,
It's time.
yeah.
Proceed from all different directions.
Yep. Thank you.
Thanks, Sean.
Okay, do we have any other staff reports, like
Just-
clerk or finance? Oh,
I was just gonna mention, Katie started to kind of put a newsletter together. We have to do one to, do our water consumer confidence report. So we do have one that has to go out this time of year. I think June 1st, it has to be in home by June 1st, so if you have anything specific you wanna see in there, we can get, if we get the 4th of July schedule, we can get it in there. Sometimes timing isn't,
Yeah. What's your date?
it has to be in homes June 1st.
Okay.
We usually try to do it to get spring cleanup in, and I think Mike has that set for, do you remember the date?
May 11th.
May 11th?
Couple days to print, so you're mid-April, somewhere in there.
Yeah, we,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Two other quick items, Your Honor.
what's that?
Two other quick items.
Yes.
I've got the audit proposal. I'll get, that'll likely be on the next agenda as well. I'd like to put that in front of council for consideration with Bonsack and Fromount. Had some good news yesterday regarding Civic Plus. They have a new program. They're a website. Number of communities have adopted their tool. And it looks like, in talking with Brad and Kelly, that We'll be able to save a lot of time in upkeep and maintenance, but also costs. Right now, it costs us about $7,400 plus other fees, and that does not include the agenda manager as well. This would be $4,500, excuse me, nor does that include the text service that's budgeted. For $4,500, looks like we could get Civic Plus website, the text service, and an agenda service, and a great website builder, good back end, and it's going to save IT a lot of time. So, and be able to, so we're taking a look at that. We'll be able to save some money and bring that forward. So, pretty cool.
Good.
Bondurant and Ely have this particular service that's available for populations 10,000 and below if you're interested in looking at them.
Finance, anything from that?
Cindy's here. She was here today. She'll be here tomorrow. We're gonna start working on the budget amendment. So get that done. Go over some other things. Working on the budget presentation. Should have it done by next week. And that's about it.
Anything from IT? Okay. All right. Council, I'll start down at this end. Anything for,
Yeah, a couple things. One, when is Earth Day, Mike? Do you know the date?
I don't know that date.
Okay, but if I Google Earth Day, that'll be the day
Yeah,
the cleanup is?
it's in the spring, I believe.
Okay, all right.
It's usually like the 22nd.
Say-
yeah.
Earth Day, the 22nd of April.
April 22nd, thank you. What's the chance of that newsletter coming out before it so we could promote Earth Day cleanup and stuff?
Well, we'd really be,
Pushing it
I mean,
too soon?
we could probably still do it,
Gotcha.
get it out.
I-
Like, the end of March would be the deadline to get something ready to go and give us a little bit of time to get it to the printer. Well, I'm not sure if we're gonna have CCR stuff back.
Which is the water
The water
reporting information.
Consumer confidence report.
We're going to need to be putting out information on the tree planting, and that information anyway is separate from that. So that'll have to go out in advance of that anyways, because plantings, I think trees come in, the other trees, not the trees forever, but the other trees come in the first or second week of April. So
Hmm.
We could do a, maybe like a postcard or something.
Just saying, it's Earth Day, it's, yeah, pride in the community, everybody go pick trash up. It's cool when we're doing that on a Saturday morning and a lot of people show up if we get it promoted. That's one concern if
It
we could
costs a little
be.
more in postage to narrow down, we usually do like a bulk mailing, but if you're
Mhm.
gonna just like limit it to residents, then you're gonna pay more in postage and but we could do just a postcard.
Postcard, yeah, I think that would do it, and maybe have to see what you think would work. I just think it's a good thing to promote pride in our community and picking up trash after our wonderful winter and everything's around. Second thing is, there's MLA coming up, Part 3. A couple of us went to Part 1 and Part 2 training. I don't know if there's any interest in Ron, Johnny, and Kathy going to Part 3. It's in April. And I'm gonna go April 2nd is my plan in Iowa City.
Sounds like what I would probably do.
Thinking of doing, okay, I'm just putting it on your agenda, we don't have to decide tonight, but we need to, if we don't say we're gonna do it, we won't do it. That's
Thanks for
all I have,
bringing
thank
that
you. That's all I got, Teresa.
Therese?
No, I'm good.
Okay. John?
Yeah. I guess I want to see what the council thinks. I think we need no parking from the hospital to Broadway along, whatever that road is.
Division.
Division, yeah, Division. They're using that road now as a parking lot, and, you know, that's the main thorough to the hospital, that if you get a semi or a dually with another ambulance, with their parking there, you know, I don't see where we should be providing them with parking. I just think, I'd like to bring that to the rest of you guys and see what y'all think about that.
We had that issue
And
come
when I'm
up
talking
before.
about that, I'm talking both sides. I'm not just talking the one side. I'm talking no parking on the other side. The Rexplex shouldn't be using it either, you know, to do that. They've got plenty of parking over there. Plus, it's a long ways to walk for the Rexplex. They can park down in the Veterans Place down there where the memorial is, if they needed to walk. There was no parking.
In the past, we have allowed them to park in grass, for special events. It's not supposed to be a permanent type thing, but if they have a big event or something, because otherwise that's supposed to be paved parking. It doesn't make a lot of sense to pave, I mean, the theory was it doesn't make a lot of sense to pave a whole area when it's just overflow parking.
Only used occasionally. To your comment, Johnny, I'm curious, Jesse, when you guys patrol that road, what do you run into? What do you think from the state?
We've had a few accidents over the years where cars have struck, cars parked along Division. It was brought up a couple years ago by somebody, about the cars parked there. Some days you drive by and there's none there, and I know I drove by today and there's probably a dozen cars parked out there on Division Street, which does congest it pretty good there on the curve right there, right after Borgie.
It's been brought up before, because it's an issue too during snow plowing. It really restricts when we're coming through there with a dump truck and a plow, and then the oncoming traffic, and then you're just throwing everything on top of the parked cars as you're going, because you're right there by them on that big street. Yeah, like Tracy said, it's not the first time this has came up.
Gotcha. So I think we're open to, with notice to the companies along there, so the employees have a chance to react, or they figure out where to let their employees park. I mean, that's what it looks like. It's Borgie and Cobo's employees are parking there, right? Pretty much.
Yeah,
It would require an ordinance change, so there would be
Oh.
3 readings to do an ordinance for it.
Okay.
well, sometimes both of them there use it,
Okay.
sometimes, and if it was, for some reason, a major, somebody's coming in and it's a parking for half a day while they have their meeting, that's totally different, but now they're using it for a parking lot. And I think I don't think it's safe.
We do have in the zoning code that businesses put in parking lots sufficient enough for their employees. So,
Can we just
go that route, we could maybe go that route instead of having to do a whole new, what'd you say, new ordinance or amendment to the ordinance for the parking.
restrict parking, it would just require an ordinance change.
I'm gonna go
Used to be,
drive
I think initially they were
Yeah,
overlapping
we'll
shifts
do
or
that.
something, that's why they were doing that, but I'm not sure if that's still the case.
Yeah, I don't know.
I want to go drive it a couple times. I mean, I know I've driven through that when there's been cars parked there, and it never seemed like an issue, but I don't know that I paid enough attention. So I want to go drive it a few more times.
I think it's fairly recent that they've been doing this, in terms of somebody there every day.
Yeah.
Andy?
Yes.
Any-
Oh, jeez. I have 400 Fourth of July things we'll talk about, but I think for now, let me just thank our firemen for coming back this year and doing the pancake breakfast again this year. The community loves that. And so, Sean, thank you, and thank everybody there for stepping back up and doing that, and your other ideas you've got for this year. So that's a big part of the event, and it's pretty special to me to have that back. So thank you very much. That's all.
Kathy?
Nothing today.
Nothing?
Thank you.
Okay. I had a phone message that was left for me that was from a citizen that wanted to tell me that he had shoveled for 3 hours to get his sidewalk cleared. And I think he was upset that, he possibly would be upset that no one was going to use the sidewalk after he'd done the cleaning. And I wanted to, he didn't leave a return number or anything else. And I would, have said to him that we're thankful that he's a citizen that goes ahead and does what his civic duty is to clean the sidewalk off, and that many of us probably wonder when we're cleaning our sidewalks whether anybody will ever walk through that area, but we do it because there's a possibility that somebody might go through and someone might get injured or whatever. And we do have a number of students that's their way to school is to walk. So I do thank him for that, but I wanted to at least pass his message on that he put quite a bit of effort into getting his sidewalk cleaned. I also would like the council to think about setting a date for a strategic goal setting once we get done with the budget. I think we should have a work session to do that. And with that, then I will ask a community report from Mrs. Rebecca Teeter, who will give us an update from the Burlington Public Library. And I think there's a microphone that works over there for you.
Do I need to stand or sit? Or
I
does it
think
make any
probably
difference?
Brad can fix it so we can hear you. Oh, you can sit, I think.
I can sit and you can still hear.
Yeah.
Or I could use my teacher voice.
There you go,
Please,
Becky.
yeah,
We're good with teacher voice.
yeah.
Yes, I do have, I still have that, I think. 2 months ago, you elected me as the liaison from the council to the Burlington Public Library Board. I attended both board meetings and the meetings in January and February, although I did it via Zoom. The second time because I was sick with a sinus infection, and even though I wasn't certain I would spread it, I didn't want to be around a lot of other people. I do plan to attend in person the next meeting. On Monday, I had arranged to meet with Rhonda Freevert, the library director, and at that time I also met with Brittany Jacobs, who is in charge of the outreach program for the Burlington Public Library. And we had just a wonderful meeting and a tour of the library during that 2-hour time period I was there. Obviously, with 2 meetings and plus the session on Monday, I have lots and lots and lots and lots of information and not time to present it all to you. If anyone is interested in some of the documentation I received at the board meetings, I could send you a PDF file of that. Each one is about 25 pages long, so, but I would be glad to send it as a PDF if you want to know, more information about finances and so forth at the library. But I would like to share with you a few things that I hope will be of interest to you. They were of interest to me. The first thing is about the outreach programs, and Brittany Jacobs has certainly been very busy since taking that position in terms of reaching out to members of the communities in the communities served by the Burlington Public Library, to set up programs and to build on what was going on before. So in terms of reaching out to schools, right now, once a month, there is a story time at all of the preschools. At least in Burlington, I guess I'm not certain if they're doing it at West Burlington or not. I didn't write that down. But a library volunteer goes once a month to the preschools to read to the children there. Next week, a staff member, Donna Kett, will be doing a monthly story time in the first grade classrooms at West Burlington Elementary. So I thought that was really exciting that, it had reached, if the preschool program isn't in use there, this program is. The other thing that impacts the schools is a program that's being undertaken with a teachers organization, the ADK, to align terminology used in searches to help teachers find newer books to help them meet state standards. Some of the books they're using, for example, in elementary school with civics, learning about, local community government and so forth and so on, are, teachers are using books that are 30 or 40 years old, and things have changed a little bit in the last 30 or 40 years. But searching for material is difficult because the terminology that the library uses is not the same terminology that's used in the standards. So by working with the teachers' organization and the library staff, they will coordinate that so that teachers can find materials that they need, which as a teacher, I think that's really fantastic news. The library plans to publish a list of books quarterly or at least twice a year so that teachers can stay up on the terminology that's going to be used. Another one of the outreach programs is the summer programs. And probably most of you are familiar with summer reading programs at the library. Maybe, you went there as a child or you took your children to summer reading programs at the Burlington Library. But there's a lot more going on besides that. Currently, the staff is using staff vehicles to take materials to different locations, like the Y Day Camp, so they get books out there. It is the hope that by the summer of 2023, the library will have a bookmobile that will travel around to different locations. And they were talking about stopping at sites where lunches are provided over the summertime, and so then they could distribute books there or pick up books. So, other programs include performances at the school, at the library or at school auditoriums. They also have done more work in the area of STEM. One thing is robotics. They have, and I would like to have played with them, little bees. They're look like little wooden bees that have numbers on the top, so children can practice coding with those, and they can program the little bee robots to go to a hive and come back. And then there's a more advanced coding for older children, and they have a bird that goes to a nest and does something. So I would like to have stayed and played with some of those things so I'd have more information, but I didn't get to do that. But it sounds really exciting to get children interested in computers and in science. The library is also setting up booths at different events and different locales in the area. They have set them up at the baseball stadium, at the Homestead. I don't know if you are all familiar with the Homestead across from Menard, so they set up a booth there in June and July. They are doing story times in the parks, and they would be glad to do a story time here in West Burlington. I suggested the park by the swimming pool would be a good place. I think that's probably our biggest park. It has parking and so forth, so that might be something that that the council could arrange with the library staff. Let's see. There are day programs. Then back in connection with the STEM program, they are working with the CEO of Cape Air, which is the new airline serving this area, to do a Women in Aviation program, and that will take place in June. And then in September, they're working to set up a wildlife pollinator project. And I don't have a lot of information about that, but it sounds interesting as well. Everything isn't just for children, though. They do have, are reaching out to get books into the hands of adults as well. They are working with the mall to promote audiobooks for people who walk the mall in the morning so they can listen to books as they're walking, which sounds exciting to me because I would like to walk, but it would be fun to just listen to a book while I'm doing that. And they're also hoping to do some other events at the mall. The library has a strategic plan, which sounds kind of like the plan you're coming up with for the city councilor for the city of West Burlington. Some of the activities have been completed already, and those that I thought you might be most interested in, of course, setting up the partnerships with community organizations. Then they're trying to incorporate other organizations into classes and events to help increase awareness of community resources among young people and families. They're also working with senior housing to co-sponsor learning opportunities for elderly individuals. Right now, they send monthly activity kits for seniors to senior living centers. There is an in-person program at one of the centers, and she didn't tell me at which one. They do deliver materials to senior centers, and when it's possible to do so, they hope to bring back speakers and an entertainment series, and take those out to seniors who cannot get to the library, or maybe provide them for people who can get to the library. Also in progress on the strategic plan is setting up outreach stations at West Burlington City Hall and Middletown. They're leaning toward lockers or return bins there. They did check into the option of an outdoor bin. I think that was something that we had talked about a couple of months ago, maybe as a possibility. Maybe I mentioned that. I don't know. Maybe I just talked to the mayor about it. But anyway, Rhonda did investigate that, but the cost of it, one of those outdoor bins to provide 24/7 access is between $3,500 and $5,000. So it's quite a chunk. So I don't know. Right now, I think that's kind of on hold because of finances. As I mentioned, they are hoping to have a bookmobile or to provide pop-up library services, and ideally it will be available a year from this summer. They have added, are in the process of adding auto check-in to the drive-through slot, so if any of you take your books and drop them off, kind of drive through that circle drive, they will have the auto check-in, and they also have an auto check-in station on the main floor of the library. And what that is, it involves smart bins with RFID readers. So when you drop your book off there and it hits the bin, then it's automatically read and it's marked as returned. So you don't have to worry about making sure that your book was picked up and has been checked in. And if somebody is waiting for it, it's, they know right away that it's available, which is a nice use of technology. I had not been in the library, of course, for a couple of years due to COVID, and hadn't really done a lot in the library for a little while before that. I tend to read a lot on my Kindle instead of checking out books, although it is possible to get books from the library on a Kindle device. They have that set up. But some of the things that I found really interesting when I took the tour were the book displays that are set up, the new book displays that are set up on the antique tables that were in the old library. And those were refinished, and they're just really a beautiful way to display those. But new books in every section are labeled. So if you're going into a mystery section and you want to know what's new in mysteries, and you can look right away and see the little yellow labels and, oh, that's a new book, so maybe that's something I want to read. They have a tweens center set up now, so it's for children who are, kind of past the just starting chapter books, but they're not ready to go into the teenage section because that material is not age appropriate for them. So they have a tween section for those young people. They also have kits of various types. They have a healing library, which I thought was a really wonderful idea. And they have kits which can be checked out for children who are dealing with loss of a loved one, loss of a pet, or maybe your family's going through a divorce. And so, just really helpful materials there. They have sensory kits available, which can be used in the library or checked out. And these are for children who are distracted by sounds or other, visual distractions. They have noise-reducing headphones. They have little fidget devices and other things in the kits. So those might be handy even to check out to take on a long car trip or something for children. They've implemented, and they had to pause it, of course, during COVID, but we'll start it again, a family night stuffed animal sleepover. And families get together and bring their stuffed animals, the children bring, and the stuffed animals stay overnight. The people don't stay, but the animals do. And the librarians then take pictures of the stuffed animals doing different things, reading, or maybe they're in the, the Storytime house, or maybe they have an area with an air tube, so you can put scarves in and they will fly up. So, anyway, pictures are taken, and then the families come back the next day, and then they have pictures of their stuffed animals who have been very busy in the library, which I think is a great way to create interest for children. Some of you may be familiar with the genealogy area in the library, and they took an old card catalog and now have reused it for obituary records. So if you're wanting to search to find an obituary for someone, maybe for family history or something, they have those in the card catalog. Someone has written out all of those cards, and they're up until August of 2021. I also got to tour the basement, and I don't have enough time to tell you about everything that was in the basement. There's just a vast storage of historical information. They have bound copies of the Hawkeye newspaper, for example, from back in the 1800s. And I didn't get to see them, but I would love to go back and take a look. Maps, old maps of the area. They have yearbooks from schools, West Burlington, Notre Dame, just an amazing amount of resources are available at the library, and we have access to them, and I want to encourage Burlington residents to do that. One of the things mentioned in terms of setting up events, which I did not mention, was participation in West Burlington's 4th of July celebration. So that might be something for you to consider, Andy, as you are planning for that. They would be glad to set up a booth about the library there. So I mentioned to Rhonda, that when I came tonight, one of the things I wanted to do is to encourage members of the city council to, either as a group or as individuals, to go take a tour. Because even if, you've used the library in recent years, there's so much new and exciting there that it's well worth, taking an hour of your time to do a tour, or 2 hours. So, okay. If you do have questions, as I said, let me know. The mayor has my email address. He can share it with you.
Yeah.
I did bring some brochures that I picked up there, and I will give them to him, so if you want to pass those. So, thanks about it.
Thank you.
Oh, wow, interesting. Yeah, well, that would be interesting. Mine's not there. Okay. Are there any questions for me?
If you were to guess, how many books, not counting digital, do you think the library has?
How many books does the
Yeah,
library? Oh, let me see in my folder if I have that information. Otherwise, I can look it up and let you know.
Becky, did they give you information like how much West Burlington residents use the library, or any stats like that?
Okay. I have information about how many library cards have been issued to people living in West Burlington. 926, and sometimes that one card is used by an entire family.
Okay.
So they do not track according to residents of
Okay.
the users. And I wondered that too. I thought it would be really interesting to know how many West Burlington people are.
Well, just to know, I mean, we contribute 50,000 a year to the function of library, and it's our residents' money. That's what we're doing with it. It's like, is it working out? Is it a good value for us? I believe it is, but
Oh,
data tells
well,
us that.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
even if we had just 1,000 people, and I think the amount we pay is what, 43,000 or 40, so, I mean, $43 a year per person, even if it were just 1,000 people, $43 seems like a
Great
great deal
value.
to me to have access. And it's not just to the library here, because they're in the interlibrary loan. We could get books from any library in the state,
Gotcha.
maybe out of state. Rhonda told me the other day, or told me when I was there Monday, because there were some books I was interested in, and they didn't have all of them. They had part of the collection. She said, just let me know what you want, and we'll get it for you.
Gotcha. Good.
So, or, video series. I'm watching Midsummer Murders, and there are 24 seasons apparently, and season 21 is the last one they have, which I haven't seen yet, but I checked it out. So, but, we have access to things beyond the library. But let me look to see if I can answer that question.
Thank you.
What's the normal time a book is taken out?
Books are checked out for 3 weeks at a time, and if they are not, if there's not a wait list for that book, it's renewable, or it's automatically renewed. I mean, that's what I was told. I checked out 2 books and this TV series, but it's
And
due
how
back in a
many-
week, but the books are
And how
3
many
weeks.
at a time?
Pardon?
For
There's a
3
limit.
weeks, and how many at a time?
I don't know if there's a limit on how many. I
Used
just
to
took
be,
out
and I didn't
2,
know how
but.
many.
There
I
is,
don't
but I don't
know.
remember what it is.
Huh.
There is, but I don't remember.
Last I remember was 12. But
But do you want me to check on that for you?
Well, I just think it's good for the public to know, and I didn't have the answer, so, yeah.
Okay.
Other questions? Not, I'll let her look for that, and then maybe she can
Yeah,
give us
I
an
will.
answer in a little bit.
That sounds
Go on, and if I cannot find it, I will find out for you.
Yeah.
I'll ask Rhonda.
Maybe you can just email Greg, and Greg can tell us all.
Or she might tell the mayor, and I'll
Or
tell
tell
us
the
all.
mayor.
All right.
Yeah, you
Or I'll
can
tell the mayor.
Mayor can let us know.
I don't know. I was able to go down where new books are being processed. That was part of my tour. A huge room, and they constantly have new books coming in. There's a person whose job is to order new materials. I mean, that's her job. And then there's another person who enters the books or other materials that are received into the computer catalog, and that's her job. And then there are other people who process the books, get the cards and the covers covered with plastic and all that sort of, and I think there are a couple of part-time people who do that. I mean, so it's,
Bigger operation than you would have thought, right?
It is. I look at our church has, for a church has a good-sized library, and we have just fewer than 6,000 books because we have purged the collection. But, I mean, it's just, they probably have more than that just in their children's section. The little picture books. They have rows and rows of carts with picture books, board books for little tiny people. So, I don't know, hundreds of thousands, I don't know. But I will ask Rhonda how many books there are approximately on the shelves now.
Close enough. Thank you.
Nothing else? Okay.
Thank you.
And thank you for your time. I
thank
know
you,
I
Becky.
took more of it than what I was supposed to.
Thanks, Becky. Nice job.
I have a proclamation. We have a Junior Achievement Day that's set aside April the 7th, and West Burlington is observing that as Junior Achievement Day. And it's an opportunity to recognize and celebrate junior achievement on the heartland for empowering our young people to own their own economic success. So that proclamation is here, and if I had somebody here from the Junior Achievement, I would present them with this, but they can certainly show up and get it also. Do we have any citizens' inquiries that they would like to? Would you like to come up to the microphone and state your name and where you are located?
Some of you may know me. I'm Daniel Gear, and I have a small business, 1124 Broadway Street here in West Burlington. I have a permanent business license as a car dealership, as a restoration facility. We sell ATVs, we sell and build actually utility trailers, things like that. I recently got a letter from the city. It's quite lengthy. My business a lot of times generates, I guess you would call it junk, things that would be normally taken over to Alders from restorations. I have a lot of things on my property, of which I don't think is bad at all. Mr. Johnson stopped by earlier tonight, and I don't think he thought that the situation was as severe as what it is brought to be. But I have a few things sitting outside of the shop. One of them is a 55 Chevrolet pickup truck, which I have a title for. It is licensed, it is insured, but it has no motor or transmission in it. And it's a certain stage of restoration. And there's no weeds growing up around it. It's sitting on my lot on an asphalt surface. Now, I do have a little pile of stuff sitting outside of the front door to the side of the shop a little bit. It's still on the hard surface property. And these are things that generally, when we're doing a restoration, you know, we'll have stuff that we replace, sheet metal or steel parts, things like that. And so we put them out in this pile. And this is a little small pile, actually. And then after it gets big enough, then I take it over to Alters. All right, now, I've tried to remedy the situation. I've talked with Greg, and I've talked with Sean, and I don't like their ideas at all, because it interferes with me doing business that I was licensed to do. Now, they're calling this stuff junk. It's far from junk, believe me. Now, I have a few things that's out and back. Sean and Greg, neither one had visited my property prior to this letter being sent out. Now, I had a meeting with Sean the other day, and my associate over here, and it didn't go well. I feel targeted because the things that's in here, there are much more gross violations in the city of West Burlington within a 2-block radius of your building here that has been going on a lot longer than this. Now, I've been in this business about almost 7 years now, and I've got over $200,000 invested in this business. And I don't like these ideas over here because it's mostly shutting me down by not letting me have these things on my facility. Now, last November, I cleaned out my whole backyard. I cut all the weeds down. I got rid of vehicles that I wouldn't get rid of because they were usable, fixable vehicles with titles. And I myself said, well, this is kind of not good. And at the time, Sean showed me some pictures, an aerial view of it. the place was growing up in weeds, no doubt, and you can't miss that. There were vehicles that was out and back in certain stages of restoration. There were some trailers that were back there that were some stuff that I had started on but got sidetracked, so it goes out into the back. According to what the letter reads, that stuff is considered hazardous to the public. Now, the letter was talking about rodents running rampant, things like that, snakes and stuff. Well, I can guarantee you there's not one mouse, pardon my French, turd on this property any place, nor are there any snakes. Now, I'm trying to come up with a thing that neither one of these two gentlemen had visited my property, like I said, prior to this being sent out. This was sent out first, and when I visited with both of them, neither one of them had been to my facility. Mr. Johnson stopped by tonight and he looked it over. He's the only one that lifted a finger to do anything. Now, I invited both of these gentlemen to come look at my place. When I talked with Sean, Sean brought a picture up on his screen, which was an aerial view of my property from probably 8 months to a year ago, which shows all of this stuff that I was talking about. And that's all been cleaned up. Everything that was involved in that back, I got rid of. That wasn't pertinent to me doing business. All right, everything else that's back there is inventory to me. And what I'm trying to do is come up with some peaceful solution. I still need some kind of space. I can't put this stuff in my building or I won't have any place to work. And, you know, I do things for the area down there, and, you know, I was telling him, you know, there's other issues too, which is besides this. This is the main issue. But we need to come up with some kind of a solution that we're both going to benefit from. But right now, I feel targeted because of it. And the other things is why just me? Why not these other places? And I can point them out. I have pictures in my phone. I can show you. Within 2 blocks of me here, I can look out your back door right out here, and I can see 2 violations of vehicles that's been sitting there since 2015. They haven't been licensed, but yet they're sitting outside on this property. And this is kind of why I feel targeted. And maybe it's just me. I don't know. But this is a copy. May I approach? Sure. Yeah, this is my copy of my business license. Sean signed off on both of these. And Sean knew before I even got these licenses that back property was going to be used. And like I said, there's been times where it's gotten overrun, and shame on me, but it's not a constant thing. But I just want to see if we can come up with some kind of a solution to where it's not going to run me out of business. I've worked hard for this place. I had another dealership many years ago, and I gave it up due to divorce and having to move back to town. But, you know, I put a lot of love into this place, and John, as being a car dealer, kind of knows what we go through, especially in the last year, you know, with the COVID thing. We're just generating cash flow. We're not making any money, you know, just enough to keep the doors open and you know, keeps the bills paid. So I don't know if there's anything that you can do or not. I would certainly appreciate some kind of light on the subject.
Your Honor? Yes. Mr. Garen's jumped the gun a little bit, a little premature, and this isn't really the appropriate location for the discussion, but I have met twice now with Mr. Garen. I've gone up and down Broadway as well. We met this morning on the topic and discussed it, looked at the entire area. He's had a number of nuisance violations over the years, and I've also told Mr. Garen that I was going to review the code and the zoning section, and that I would be getting back with him. So Mr. Garen's jumped the gun a little bit here, and needs to be a little bit patient. We've met twice already, and we will be getting back with him in a timely fashion, and we've already told him that. And And we'll be,
Well,
we'll
I'm
be
sorry.
proceeding.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
We'll be proceeding at that point in time, but this really isn't the time and place to go through a nuisance discussion. That's not
And
what
we
this is
can't,
for.
we can't do anything because this is not on the agenda. You can,
I
give us our
understand that. Well, I
information.
need a
but-
continuance. He has made this into a time-sensitive thing, and we're trying to still work this stuff out, but I invited Greg or him to come look at the property. But like I said, this was sent out, and neither one of them had looked at the property, and I question that. That's basically
Your Honor,
what I'm interested.
Mr. Garen's been told what the process is, that we will review the issue, review the matter, we will review the site, and that we will get back to him.
Okay, well, Sean's only given me a month to fix this problem in the back, and it can be fixed, but by his standards, he wants me to get rid of it, considers it junk. I don't. I want to put some type of a block on there that's going to keep me from having to get rid of that stuff. And like I said, I cannot put it in my business. I've got plenty of stuff in there now. I got to have some place to work. But these things, like I said, they're not generating rodents, and it's all cleaned up. But he asked me, I had my associate with me, and he brings this up on the screen of that picture, and he says, well, now what you're telling me is that this is all cleaned up now. And I said, what? Well, you should know that. Well, he hadn't looked at it. We went next door, talked to Greg, went in there. Greg hadn't looked at the property either. So this is premature, not me. So anyway, but if we could set aside some time, the answer is not putting me out of business. That's not the answer. But what I'm asking the city is to work with us. And yeah, we've had petty violations in the past. To me, they were nitpicky. The only thing is when you have all these other blatant violations around here, why am I being targeted for the same stuff? Now, when I moved in down there, I had no idea that 7 years down the road, somebody's going to tell me, well, everything you've got in the back is junk. You need to get rid of it. Or one thing was to put it into the building, which I cannot do. But if I could have a small space behind the shop and keep it within a square footage area, say, that would be fine. But I cannot afford to give product away. I can't. I work too close to the red. So if we can sit down and discuss this, but he's only given me a month to do this, and I need more time. Right now, there's just a lot of things that's going on. I'm only one person, and I can only do so much. But the most important thing for me is to be able to produce product. That's what sells. That's what put my kids through college. And if I can't do that, I'm sunk.
I know one frustration I've had in previous school board dealings, someone coming in to talk, and thank you for doing that, is that we don't handle individual situations. We handle the code, and then we hire them to go enforce the code.
Yeah.
But I'd like to come by and take a look,
Please
if you're
do
all right. I don't like to speak on things without seeing them first, so.
I endorse it. It's not a junkyard. It's not a place that's full of trash and stuff.
Yeah.
And this little pile of steel that I got out in front of there, yeah, I could take it to Alders, but I can't go to Alders every day, and I
Yeah.
produce this stuff every day.
Is this the same property where we've had an issue with something going into the sewer?
No.
No.
Different property, okay.
Property.
Excellent, okay.
Yep.
But,
Okay.
there's other issues that I would like to address, but I'm sure you don't have time for it, but I cannot display my vehicles out in front of the shop. I'm down to displaying one vehicle, of which I used to have 10 vehicles. The ditch in front of my property fills up, and it floods almost up to my front door of the shop. And I don't know who's responsible. The culvert's plugged up underneath of it. So if it's my neighbors or somebody else, but, that's just one other thing that, brings the business down. If you can't put something out there for sale, you can't make money.
That issue is being addressed at this
Is it
point
good?
with
Yeah.
a couple of your neighbors. But at that point, that's still city right-of-way that you can't park on in the ditch or the right-of-way. You got to be so far back from the road.
Well,
But the
yeah.
water issue has been addressed, and there's been letters going out about fixing culverts. So just so you know that,
I'm the one that maintains that ditch. I cut it sometimes twice a week. And the same way with that easement that goes across the front of those buildings. I'm the one that does mostly the snow removal and stuff on there, just to be a good neighbor. And, you know, I find out now that that's private property with a city easement across it. So I don't care who it belongs to, but I just, you know, being a nice guy, keeping it plowed. So anyway,
well, I spoke with your landlord too about the water issue, and your landlord says that Myers does all the snow plowing there. So,
yeah, well, they started this winter, yeah. But see, I've been there 7 years, and I can remember going out there in blizzard conditions and plowing the lots out there. But, yeah, there's somebody else that's doing it, and they hit the culvert the other day and knocked the lid off of it. I think I got blamed for that. But anyway, all right, I will do with these gentlemen. Can we get some kind of a thing that says that they can't come in and tow my vehicle off until we can get this resolved?
On the agenda, yes.
We can't do anything that's not on the agenda. You can give us information in the
Well,
next
can-
agenda, we could
Can we put it
discuss
on the
it.
agenda?
That's just,
Yeah.
that's,
I'm
it's
willing
frankly.
to work
that-
with them, but it's gotta
Excuse me, sir, that,
Yeah.
it's just frankly not appropriate. You've been told what
It's
the
not.
process is.
Yeah.
You haven't even given us an opportunity to respond yet. And let us work through the process and do what we've told you. I've already talked to you about these issues, and you're pretending not to even have
I'm just
had
a little bit
those
anxious
conversations. Let us work through the process, and we will contact you.
We'll do that.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, that's not mine.
Thanks, Sam.
We have new business to discuss. We have to consider resolution awarding a general obligation corporate bond, Series 2022. We have somebody still online that's going to give us.
We have Maggie.
Yes.
We have Maggie Berger with us tonight. She's on vacation and attended the bond sale today on our behalf. We attended at this morning as well. And Maggie's going to run through the 4 bids that we received on the bonds. We got some good rates today, as you've seen, and so that we can proceed. And we'll let Maggie take it from here.
Thank you very much, Mayor and Council. I'm Maggie Berger with Spear Financial, and I appreciate you letting me zoom in. As Greg said, we had scheduled this bond sale for a day that I was already scheduled to be on vacation, but I was happy to participate. We did take bids this morning on $525,000 of general obligation corporate purpose bonds, Series 2022, for some projects that you've got coming. And as Greg mentioned, and as you've seen in the letter, you did receive 4 bids, and we will be recommending the low bid from UMB Bank of Kansas City, Missouri, at the interest rate of 2.2532%. We consider this pretty close bidding. I can also tell you that we were monitoring rates over this last week. We had seen a little bit of an uptick, a little bit of market fluctuation following the world crisis that's going on in Ukraine, as well as, inflationary and pressures like that. The 4 bids that were received are on this second page, and I'll sort of walk through those with you. UMB Bank bid a 99.52% price, which means they're taking a little bit of the discount. We offer them 0.8%. They did not take all of it. Their interest rates for the first 5 years are at 2%, and then they start to go up gradually at 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, and 2.4. That's pretty common in the municipal market to see interest rates rise over time. And the reason is because these are deemed investments. People that are buying these are investing their money, and they're hedging basically what they think those interest rates will be 5 to 6 to 10 years out from now. So with that it brings us to a total interest cost, if paid all the way through till maturity, of $69,401 at that 2.25. Very closely running a second position was Bankers Bank of Madison, Wisconsin. I did mention to your administration this morning that on our deals that are sized under $1 million, UMB Bank and Bankers Bank probably, between the two of them, go back and forth and win 70% of the deals that we see come across our desk or that we're working on. So again, in close competition there, they were at a 2.35%. Their interest rates, again, started at that 2 for those same first 5 years, and then they raised to a 2.25 and a 2.5. So as you can see, their rates were just a little bit higher than those UMB Bank rates, and they did take a little bit more of the discount. And all of that factored together is what leads to that true interest rate over on the far right side. The other two bids were Northland Securities and United Bankers Bank. Although United Bankers Bank started at a 1.5, their end interest rates went all the way up to a 3.25, and Northland's went up to a 2.75, meaning that they were definitely going to be in the higher range. Northland did take all 0.8% for their discount, and that's just the money that they're going to use out of the deal to pay their sales staff who are reselling the bonds on the secondary market as we speak. So we go to the final debt service schedule. And as we had talked before, we were looking at you guys utilizing 28 cents in the debt service levy. And this actually aligns right with the 28 cents based on, the interest rates that we thought we would be getting as well. There is a call feature in this debt service schedule, and that call feature is after June 1st, 2029. And what that means is the last 3 years of the bond issue would be able to be refunded or called in early, or you can just pay them as they are. The call or the optional redemption is at your option only at the city. So if you have money ahead at that point in time and you want to pay them off early or pay part of what remains off early, you have every right to do that. Otherwise, nobody can call these bonds in. You'll just continue to pay as normal through the maturity. And again, 7 years from now, we don't know, but interest rates very well could be higher than they are today. So it may just be in your best interest to invest the property tax dollars that you get and then pay them on those December interest dates and June principal and interest dates. So with that, I would answer any questions that you have, but we would go back to the front part of our letter. And we would recommend that you award through this resolution this evening to UMB Bank of Kansas City, Missouri at 2.532%. You will have documents in a couple of weeks as well. Tonight, you're locking everything in. The documents in a couple of weeks all the blanks have been filled in. And so you will sign those documents. In about a month, you will have the money in your account to spend on your projects.
On the 16th, we'll have an issuance resolution to wrap things up as well.
Yes, correct. And you'll get those documents from bond counsel and they'll come out, the week before. But basically tonight locks everything in with your action. And then 2 weeks from now, because you have to publish a notice 24 hours in advance, we don't have the opportunity to fill in all the documents from 11 a.m. this morning until 6 p.m. tonight. And so bond counsel needs that time to get all of the documents, to talk with the underwriter, make sure that all the loan agreements are in place, things like that.
The issuance resolution on the 16th is what we need to provide the county so that they can see that the debt service should be added to the levy. So.
That is correct. That is your authorization. You are correct, Greg. That is your authorization for you to levy that property tax.
Any other questions? I actually stepped ahead of this. I should have asked for a motion and a second on that before we had discussion, but we're good. Entertain a motion then to accept this.
I make a motion that we accept the $525,000 general obligation bond.
I'll support that.
Support. Okay, I'll ask for a roll call vote.
Crowner,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Lees,
Aye.
Young,
Aye.
Newberry.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you all for having me. I appreciate it this evening.
Thank you
very
Thanks
much.
for coming in on vacation.
No problem.
That's a beach in the back.
Okay, we have a resolution hiring Cora Herman Wickham as the swimming pool manager for the 2022 pool season.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
An excellent interview. She's actually still in Ireland right now, going to school, but she'll be back here in April. April? Maybe? May. Beginning for work. She's looking to forward to interviews for pool staff. But excellent candidate, excellent interview, pool operator's license, worked for private company, and as a lifeguard, lead lifeguard, and Mike, Kelly and I sat on the interviews, and we're really excited about the opportunity.
Done spring pool startups and maintenance, so it sounds like she knows her way around the pool very well.
She worked with young people at any point in her,
Yes.
And she's willing to she's worked with young folks, she's done some swimming lessons that, for example, at HOA, she's willing to get her WSI. She's already a pool operator. We have 3 pool operators. The other 2 probably need a refresher, but one, John Schnaden,
Yeah,
correct?
John, Joel, and Chase, maybe 2 years ago, they went and redid their pool license, so we have 3 other pool licenses here in the city too that.
But she'll be an excellent addition. We're excited to get her on board. So.
Which she knows and has done all this requirements and the hourly samples and all that, which we've in the past, John's have to go there every morning and do samples and run stuff and wait on them to get there, but she just sounds like she'll be able to just step right in and take over all that. And
What's the hiring process going to be like for just normal lifeguards between now and the time she's here?
Well, we need to get more applications. First of all, we need to continue to get the word out. She wants to participate, so we'll do those actually via Zoom as
Okay.
well. And because she wants to participate in those interviews, so we'll have them come in and we'll set up a session and we'll participate live and in Zoom with those interviews. Katie sent out letters to the previous lifeguards. We're going to re-advertise as well. Melanie had said that they're on the doors at the high school as well. So
Good.
we're trying to get the word out, but we appreciate any, if you know anybody, send them our way.
Great.
And not just lifeguards, we need people to take admissions and can stand at the top of slides. They don't have to be lifeguards. There are other openings over there, so.
Okay, good to know. Thanks for the,
How many hours does, like, the manager put in a week? Yeah,
Well, I mean, the operation is seven days a week, essentially. But we're hoping to find some lifeguards or senior lifeguards, potentially at least, or lead lifeguards, head lifeguards, that can assist and help out. But ideally, we were looking at our numbers. Would we end up with 9 or 10 to operate? Well, that included 3 attendants as well. So 6 lifeguards, 3 attendants, and the manager, plus extra lifeguards.
Well, I just heard him say, she might be able to come in, start it, and all that. I'm just wondering, is she a 10-hour-a-day person, 7 days a week, or is she?
No, we're
No, there'll be an
we're-
assistant.
and
She'll
that's why-
pick a head lifeguard or assistant that will know and train, and so she can get out and in when she needs, but
Right.
we've always done, every year, whether, even the Y does that. They have a manager, but they also pick assistants to help cover hours, so if she has to be off or whatever, but.
Yeah, I just didn't know what that answer
But
was.
she'll be focused on training, and making sure everything is running smoothly, and so her hours will probably be or need to be pretty flexible. But hopefully we'll find a couple of head guards or that she can utilize. So.
any other discussion? Not, I have a motion and a second for this. Voice vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Consider approving the state revolving fund sponsored project performance agreement related to the Lures Park sponsored project. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
discussion. No
Happy to
discussion.
answer any questions. We've been waiting to determine if we could do any additional clean water projects out there, and really more focused on stormwater. Haven't been able to identify anything that would really work, that they would consider clean water projects. They're not willing to consider the biocells, the bioswells at this point in time. Those would be post-residential development rather than pre-residential development. We need to get the amendment done so the loan can be completed, the city can receive the funds. I mean, we're sitting there with $500,000 in expenditures, and we want to get the revenue in for the work that's already been done and get the project closed out after the change order is completed in the spring. So basically, we're just recommending that we move forward at this time. We'll continue to look for stormwater management practices there, and as you know, throughout town.
No further discussion, voice vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Our final point of new business is consider the final reading of an ordinance amending ordinance number 549, designated an area of West Burlington, Iowa as the West Burlington Urban Revitalization Area.
Motion to approve.
Support.
So, in support. Discussion?
Just my same line item. I would
What's
like
that?
just my same line item. I would like a one-sheet form to be able to.
That's what I had mentioned earlier. It's not a one-sheet form at present. It's a two-sheet application.
Smaller type.
And there's one, two, 4. But this is just information that I want to use in putting together the website. And then on the back side here, I'll give you, actually, this will be in your, it's actually in your update that's going out as well. What I've done is it's just, the more detailed stuff will be on the website. But I've also broken it down, basically, you know, what tax exemption is the property eligible for, and then I went through each one, you know, commercial, industrial, residential, new residential home, new residential and blighted, multi-residential, and abandoned property, which is for all property classes, and it shows the specific exemptions that they can apply for. The application that was provided in the plan, I went through and tweaked to make sure that we had the requirements that we had discussed, including the tree requirement that is in the plan as well. And it also details the exemption, because you have to check off which exemption that you're looking for. So this will be in your packets and your update to take a look at it, but it'll be condensed, other than the application. It'll be condensed for a handout.
I may go ahead and just make one then and send it to you.
Oh, it'll be, it's good. It's good. It's not, I don't know. Kelly was
In
gonna,
other words, you're volunteering to do the
You're
work.
volunteering.
Kelly was gonna put it in plain English.
Oh.
I took it from one
Okay.
and took it into plain English, my version of plain English, and Kelly was gonna put it into her version of plain English.
If we completely run out of homes to sell and I have a day off, maybe I'll,
It'll
maybe I'll do
it
something.
should be good to go here pretty quick.
Pretty close, right?
Any further discussion?
No.
If not, then call for a voice vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Any old business? Seeing none. We have any citizen inquiries? Seeing none. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Motion second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I was going to say all opposed. We stand adjourned. Motion carried.
Thank you.